Howdy everyone, this is LockNutz, and you're watching a map tour of Eastern North Carolina, USA by Macktrucker921. Hopefully you'll stick around to see what happens. Howdy, 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 how are you guys doing today? Oh my goodness, I tell you what, today we get to go on a map tour of Eastern North Carolina, USA by Macktrucker921. This little pad mamma jamma is 328.09 megabytes to download and is very cross-platform friendly. Now, this map has a ton of different features on it. Oh my goodness, I tell you what, there's limestone, sand, gravel, and concrete, cornmeal, cracked corn, corn oil, and soybean oil. Holy cow. Plus, there's a fancy new way to feed your chicken. Son of a gun, I tell you what. But before we jump into that, guys, we've gone ahead and started this gameplay off on New Farmers mode. So, with that being said, we're going to take a look and see what machinery you'd be starting off with in New Farmers mode. So, let's jump right into that. And here is your equipment. But before we dive into the equipment, there are some specialty things that you can go ahead and buy on this map. Starting off with cracked corn. You have the cracked corn bin. There's the bins. Oh my gosh, for limestone, pig food. You have a modded fertilizer spreader and wrapper. Modded cultivator. Modded mowers. Modded baler. Seeder. Rock picker. The Magnum. Gotta love that. And there is a trailer, harvester, and a couple other spreaders here, guys. So kind of keep that in mind as you're going ahead and looking at this stuff. There is a ton of different extra mods that you get to go ahead and jump in and use. But taking a look at the equipment you get to start off with, you start off with 2 Massey Fergusons. Not too shabby. Harvester, you start off with 1 case axle flow. That does come with a grain header and completing everything off the header trailer, so that's pretty darn slick. You do start off with 1 pickup truck. You do start off with the 1 lizard trailer flatbed. This one here, you do actually start off with no matter what gameplay you start off with. You also, this fertilizer spreader, no matter what gameplay you start off with, you do get this as well. So between those two, that's what you can get yourself rocking with. Stone pickers here, you get the 1 Scorpio stone picker. Mulchers, you get the TMC Cancela, not too bad. Cultivators, you get the Lemkin cultivator, the modded one. Seeders, you get the modded Lemkin seeder. Fertilizer spreader. Front loader, you have 1 Hoover front loader, and that does come along with the bale spikes. And that is what you get to start off with. So in combination with some of the cool mods that come right along with the map, you do end up having quite the batch to go ahead and jump into. But with that being said, guys, let's jump into and take a look at that map. And here is your map, and as you can see, there's a lot of irregular shaped fields on this map. There are some straight edges, but there are quite a few irregular shapes on this map. Now, if you do notice here, there is an extra color on here. I went and popped on, click the poplar, not poplar. Hopped on over here, it's grass. It's grass. Now, the neat thing about this, if you remember from FS19, when you'd go ahead and mow the map grass, it would kind of let you know what the growth state was of that. That's kind of what you get with this extra grass that's around the fields and everything. You will get this growth state on here if it's ready to harvest or if it's growing. So that's kind of what's going along the outside of all these fields. Pretty darn neat. There still is the map grass that you can go ahead and cut, but this stuff here is just a little bit extra special, is the best way to go ahead and say it. Now going ahead and taking a look at this here, guys, there's quite a few selling points on here. Pizzeria, water fill station. Speaking of the water fill station, one thing that's pretty darn neat about this particular map is that underneath the entire map is water. So no matter where you go, you can go ahead and dig down underneath the water or underneath the ground, and you'll have water there. And the way it's set up is that at that location, you will have a water trigger. So that's pretty darn slick. Now, as we kind of pop around here, you'll see we do have the BGA. There's a couple more things: the biomass heating mat, the sawmill. You got your store, great processing unit, concrete production plant. We'll take a little bit of time to look at that after a little bit here, but this is something pretty neat that you can go ahead and buy as well. But with that being said, let's take a look at the prices of everything really quick. And now this is what you'd end up with starting off in new farmers mode. You have all these little satellite locations around here. These locations right here are actually the store locations, store, sell points, stuff like that. So they don't cost anything, but they're just there. You start with them automatically. Now your main farm is field 20 or 74, and you do end up starting off with these two fields here, 24 and 25, to get yourself going here. But one thing that is also pretty neat about this, we're going to pop back out here for just 1 second. There are a couple plots on here. You can kind of see like a little barn right there, a little barn right there, a little barn right there. Those areas right there have animals in them, and those animal areas have custom numbers, or custom capacities. We'll go ahead and we'll stop at those and take a peek, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But just to kind of let you know what we're dealing with here, plot number 70 here, this farm or this location has a pig pen on it. Field 71 has a chicken coop. 72 up here has a cow shed, and then 73 has a sheep stall. I did not find a horse pen in here. I may have missed it. So if there is, comment down below. Let me know the error of my ways. Field prices, field 36 is the most expensive field, coming in at $739, almost $740,000. And the absolute cheapest field, not everything's numbered now, but the absolute cheapest field that we have on here is field 29, coming in at $23,000. So taking a look at that, you have quite a variety in between here, field prices and everything. It's not too shabby. But we do have forestry areas here, and let me tell you, driving around on these, you guys are going to be very, very impressed by this. Now, where I grew up, this is more or less what I'm used to seeing. Very, very thick forestry areas, lots of brush in there wherever you have the opportunity. Like I said, when we get out there and take a peek at this, you'll really see what I'm jumping into and what I'm talking about. Speaking of that, guys, let's stop looking at the map. Let's stop looking at the numbers. Get out here and take a look at this one from the ground. And here we are on the starting farm, just kind of taking a little walk around. You have I believe it's a multi-fruit silo that's sitting up over there. You have some nice, decent shelter areas here for going ahead and storing your machinery and whatnot. But you do have this vast open area where you can go ahead and put in placeables or whatever it is that you want to do. So there is quite a bit of room to expand here, just even on the base farm. It's not too bad at all. Now, taking a look at this here, we'll come back in and take a look at the construction, because there are a couple things here to go ahead and be aware of. You can go ahead and sell off all this stuff on here. Now, when you're starting off on any other game mode, these buildings aren't even here, so you got that. You just have your couple implements that are sitting right over here. Now, one thing to take a look at on this particular map is that you do have all of these extra modded production facilities. So that's pretty darn slick. A couple of them are kind of unique to this map, which I have actually ended up buying the concrete factory, the oil mill, and whatnot, because there are some special things that can come along out here. A couple extra products that you can actually get. It's pretty darn cool. You can get the corn oil and the soybean oil over here, so this is pretty darn neat. At the grain mill plus, you can get cornmeal and cracked corn, pretty darn slick. And then back over here at this concrete production, sand, gravel, and the whole 9 yards. So let's take a second here, get off of this. Oh, get off of that really quick. The other thing we wanted to go ahead and look at that there is the animal pens that are available on this map. The custom one, or I should say the modded one that is available here, has the capability of having 250 cows on there. Pretty darn slick. The pig stall, 350. The sheep barn, 500. Chickens, 500, lots of chickens, and there's a unique feeding schedule for the chickens. We'll take a look at that in just a little bit. So, all in all, guys, it's pretty darn slick. There's a lot of modded things on here that just is going to add a whole different function to the gameplay. It's pretty darn neat. I guess with that being said, let's hop in the truck and drive around and start taking a look at some of this stuff as we get ourselves going. Before we get too far into this, I'd like to go ahead and turn the map on in the corner. That way you guys can kind of keep your eyes along with me as we go on this little tour. Now, another little unique thing about this map, I know there's lots of unique things about this map. Straw has been added for canola and for soybeans, so you have that as well. Like I said, there's just a lot of modded things on this map that's pretty darn neat to go ahead and take a peek at. Now, one thing I'm going to do, hopefully you don't mind, I like to drive across the map, drive across the field so that you guys can kind of get a better look to see what's going on out here, because let's face it, the majority of time that we're going to go ahead and spend, it is going to be being spent out in the fields. That's where the majority of everything is going to end up being. Yes, I know I just said major majority, but I can't take it back now. So over here with the chickens, this is kind of a unique feeding situation that we got going on over here. For the chickens, let's hop in here. It's set up kind of like you would see with the pigs, with the base food, grains, and all that stuff. But chickens have the same thing as well. You have cracked corn, which is going to take up 60% of everything. The next 20%, you either need to do wheat, barley, sorghum, or oats. Pretty darn slick. And then the last is going to be for sunflowers. To get the total productivity, or to raise your productivity, or best productivity, however you want to look at it, you have to have one of each of these categories. So obviously cracked corn, sunflowers, you get in there. But then you have to have one of the grains of either barley, wheat, sorghum, or oats. So that's kind of how this is set up. Pretty darn slick. It's a neat little production thing, or not production thing, but it's a neat little way of going about doing all that. As we kind of hop back into our truck, we can head on over here and take a look at our, which one's over here? The pig stall, or pigsty. Sorry about that, not the pig stall. And again, it's a nice little setup here. It's nice and custom. It's pretty darn cool how it has this nice wide open area over here. Same thing with the chicken area. It's just nice and wide open. And then if you really, really wanted to, you can buy this plot right in between and just be right in the middle of all the action. Oh, it's so cool. So cool. All right, let's hop into this truck and get ourselves rocking and rolling around on the map, because another pretty darn neat thing about this thing is that this has some hills to it. When I'm going ahead, a little bit of disclaimer, one of the things that I go ahead and do before I hop onto a map and look at it is I have a mod that allows me to run really, really fast. When I'm running really fast and I get to a very steep hill, it actually takes my guy and makes him walk slowly. On more than one occasion, as you may or may not have been able to see by that massive hill right there, my character actually walks really, really slow because it is so steep. With that being said, horsepower is going to be your friend on this map. Holy cow. You are going to need at least 3 horses, a goat, and a prayer to get up some of these hills just because of how steep they are. So you're going to definitely want to go ahead, look at the fields before you purchase them, and then make sure you go ahead and have tons of horsepower to spare. Oh my goodness. So as you can see up here, we have a nice big custom sheep pen. It really is nice and big, spanning all over here. Pretty darn slick little setup here on the hill as well. We're going to continue on down over here, and then we'll stop off by the cow barn before we start really chucking around and looking at all the other little bits and pieces on this. But as you can see, the very hilly landscape. I'm not joking with the horsepower, though. That's something that really is going to be a must getting out here. And then up here is your cow barn. Kind of nice and remote. You have a nice little house over there with a carport where you can get yourself into. One thing that's kind of neat about this one, now I'm going to look at this because, and I do apologize, I don't remember if this is part of an update or if this is part of the map. But one cool thing that is on here is that it does have this breakdown kind of like you do for the chickens and the pigs in here, except it does work like we're used to. You put the TMR in, that's what they're going to eat first, then they'll go to the hay grass and then silage. But TMR, 125%. I don't remember if that's exactly what goes on when it's happening the other way around, but just wanted to show you. This is kind of a neat little setup that's in here as well to kind of get yourself rocking and rolling with what's happening here. So as we kind of continue on, we'll go ahead and focus a little bit more on some of the other things. Now, up here at the oil mill, let's hit this guy up really quick. We'll take a peek at that because up here it is pretty darn neat. With the oil mill, you have the opportunity to go ahead and not only make your standard canola, sunflower, and soybean oil, or not soybean oil, canola oil. You can also make, I kind of hinted at it, soybean oil and cracked corn. I'm sorry, corn oil and soybean oil. So that's pretty darn slick. You also have the byproduct of making pig food if you really want to. It is pretty darn cool. Like I said, on a lot of this stuff, it's a neat, or I should say, you have the byproduct of making pig food by going ahead and using the corn oil. Sorry, just the corn oil goes ahead and has that on there. But you can make the corn oil from regular corn or with the cracked corn. It works just about the same. Slightly different outputs, but all in all, it's not too bad at all. Pretty darn cool, pretty darn cool. I just love the fact that you have all these extra modded bits and pieces that are in here to go ahead and really just add to the flavor of everything that's happening on the map. One other thing about this map is that this map is actually based off of satellite imagery from this particular area in North Carolina. So it's neat. If you want to go to North Carolina, take a look at this. This is what it's going to look like. Now, this is one cool thing. This is what I was getting at when it comes to the thick underbrush. This is thick. This is thick. This is how all of the forestry is in here, which to me, this kind of makes it feel like this is what you're really going to find out in the forest. Big, tall trees and shrubs and bushes trying to get through. I mean, it's thick stuff. It's thick stuff. You're not walking through here by yourself. I almost lost the truck. You're not walking through there by yourself. You're going to get yourself lost. Yeah, super, super cool to be able to get out there and rock and roll with the thick trees. It's going to definitely add a little bit of a layer onto what you're doing forestry-wise on the map. And as you can kind of see where you have the grass along the edge of these fields where it really does look like the stuff that you'd plant, that's what I was getting at, where it does have that little bit differentness to it, but it does show up on the map a little bit different because you can definitely see there is a difference between the grass that's right here and then the grass that's out in the middle of the road. It just is another one of those little neat tricks, or neat tricks, but neat features on here to be able to showcase some of that stuff. You do have a nice little railroad that goes, I want to say north to south, but that's not quite right. It's northeast to southeast or southwest, so kind of keep your eye open for that. You don't have trains that are rocking on it, but it's a nice little decorative feature out there. All right, let's get ourselves coming on this way. Nice little divided highway. Let's get ourselves going over here. So you do have, like right there, nice little carport, nice little place to go ahead and sell your lime on here. And all in all, guys, this is just super cool. That over there is the concrete. We'll get to that in just 1 second. But you know what? Actually, this actually sets us up for a pretty good opportunity here in just a little bit. Once we get up the road, we're going to go ahead and stop at the Grain Mill Plus. I believe that's the Grain Mill Plus up over there. And it'll give us an opportunity to go ahead and get a little squirrely, hit the old reset on the vehicles, and it should take us right back over there. But I just want to go ahead and stop by up here first before we get ourselves too crazy. Yep, I'm cutting across things again. I do apologize, but it is what it is. So hopping on over here, there we go. You can make cornmeal, cracked corn, not too shabby at all, along with everything else as normal, but it's just kind of neat, again, to have these extra little things on here. It is pretty darn cool. Depending on what you want to do, you have these options to make a couple different things. Now, you might be telling yourself, between the corn oil, soybean oil, and the cracked corn and cornmeal, what does it matter? There's also this stuff here. We'll take a peek at that in just a second, but price-wise of all this stuff, doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. Well, looking at the cracked corn, a little bit more expensive than corn, I would say. I think that's not too shabby. Cornmeal, pretty darn decent. Corn oil, well, that's a nice price. Soybean oil, holy cats, that's pretty darn good. We'll take limestone, gravel, sand, concrete. As you can see, big thing for the concrete right there. So by having these extra crops, or not crops, these production results, I guess is a good way to say it, you do end up with some pretty lucrative things if you think about it. It's all pretty darn slick no matter how you slice it. And again, there is no safe place on this entire map when you're looking at field sizes. It's just big. It's just big. All right, that's a nice little setup right over there. Oh, right over there. Where am I going here? There it is. Lost track of the concrete. Now, again, nice large forestry area just on the other side of this concrete. It looks like it's kind of the southern side of it. It's very thick. Very thick. So kind of keep that in mind when you're out here. It's huge. It's huge. There's lots of stuff for you to be able to get yourself involved with. There is this nice little, I want to say this is gravel. Yeah, I think this is a nice little gravel or limestone pit that's over here. You have to purchase the land to be able to get this, but this is also an ingredient for making some of your different things. Let's get over here. Where is the thing? We'll just go in here like this so we can go ahead and see the formulas this way. So obviously for making lime, get your limestone. Comes out as lime. Stones, you get gravel and sand. Pretty darn cool. Sand, just rocks, but you also need limestone, gravel, and sand to make concrete. So it's all in all, it's just one process leads to another sort of setup, and it is pretty darn cool. If you want, you can take and crush the limestone and make lime to throw on your fields, or you can go ahead and repurpose it for doing concrete. Either way, it's super cool. Like I said, or like you guys seen, the price is not bad at all. You get stones when you pull them out of your fields. Limestone sitting right over there. You have an opportunity to rock and roll. It's all pretty darn slick, if you do say so myself. With that being said, guys, I think we should just hop up in the sky and take a look at this thing, because I don't think the hills, you can really see it until you get up from up top. So let's take a minute here, fly up in the sky, and take care of some business. All right, everyone, let's go up into the sky and take a look at this thing. Oh, man, I mean, as you fly above this, you can kind of see down below. The trees aren't super thick. It's not bad, though. But you can see all that shrubbery down below there, and that's where this gets to be super hectic. Let's dip back down here for just a second, because we can get a little bit above the ground. And you can really start to see the undulations, the hills, the bumps, the knobs, the bruises. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a very vicious landscape if this is a map that you're going to want to jump into. Definitely a challenging map. I can't believe some of these extreme elevation changes. It's really going to cause havoc. I think it's just the best way to say it. It's going to cause havoc. Oh man, nice little trail through the woods. You have a water filling point there, but if you dig down, like I said, you can go ahead and get water anywhere that's out there. Oh man, I tell you what, you got a nice combination of big fields, medium-sized fields, and a couple small fields sprinkled in there with a whole lot of undulations. Oh boy, I tell you what a challenging map this one's going to be. But I tell you what, it is going to be pretty darn neat. Comment down below, where are you guys going to start? Are you guys going to start your own forestry business? Or are you going to want to tackle some of those unique animals? Or maybe even some of the unique production things? I don't know. Tell me what it is. Comment down below. I'd really be interested. And guys, go ahead and share this video if you think it's pretty darn neat with somebody who you think is going to want to try out some of this stuff, because I tell you what, there's some pretty darn interesting features from the cornmeal all the way to the oil. Oh my goodness, it's pretty darn neat, Like that video if you want. I'd really appreciate it. And go ahead and subscribe. Son of a gun, it helps the channel out a bunch. Holy cats. I'm going to get out here. I'm going to rock. I'm going to roll. And until I see you guys out on these fields, thanks for stopping by.